Hey, I hear you, 121. Sorry, I'm sitting here on the workbench on a barefoot CPI doing about 4.5 watts. I think I'm on my IMAX, but I'm amazed that anybody even came back to me.
I think you said you were on the IMAX. 4.5 watts. Yeah, I'm making it back here. You're making a good trip over here. 121 over here in southern Indiana, about 25 miles north of Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay, Alex, I was having trouble aligning your RF section. I knew I needed a potentiometer, this blue thing here, to replace this resistor. But anyways, I tried aligning your RF section, had no luck. But I just got this new potentiometer, popped it in. Everything aligns good now. I've got your new Motorola audio limiter chip in, and I'm just doing the alignment. I've replaced quite a few caps. I've got a couple more to put in, but things are progressing. So after owning a couple CPI CP2000s decades ago and servicing, gosh, I don't even know how many, lots. I guess if I was to speak of any type of inherent weakness or problem on these radios, it would be the years of exposure to airborne contaminants, moisture, cigarette smoke, and whatnot, that creates a intermittent connection on these RCA jacks. Now, it's not the actual RCA jack or the interconnecting cable itself. It's the female PC board assembly that usually creates the problems. And I've discussed this in my other CPI videos, but here, have a listen. We're on the Super Bowl, got the volume up. Now watch this. I'm just going to wiggle this connection. You see what that did? It brought a dead receiver to life. And I'm sure that's the circuit board mounted connection of the actual female RCA jack. I don't believe it's the solder on the circuit board. I did reflow most of the assembly here, and I don't believe it's anything to do with the interconnection cable. It's just this mechanical kind of a crimp that these female RCA jacks use. And you can see I'm getting this guy's signal to drop out, come in. So even if you've got a working CPI, don't assume it's in tip-top shape. As you can see, just wiggling this connection gets me about 5 additional S units of receive sensitivity. Look at that. Dead receive. We have noise.
I got a little bit more fuel left.
Just from wiggling. Now here is a prime example of what I consider to be really the only issue on a CPI that is not golden screwdriver inflicted, and that would be the component aging of these RCA, the female RCA connectors that are used throughout the radio. And as you can see, they've developed a little bit of a green, indicating this was probably around some moisture, maybe even salt air, which is even worse. And once again, I mentioned how this is a multi-part assembly where the flow solder can get this lower base portion hot enough, the flow soldering machine, to actually, get a good solder joint to the circuit board. Whereas if this was all one piece, this would wick so much heat away from the connection, it would be a questionable solder joint. So they've used this kind of unique flow soldering type RCA connector. And unfortunately, this one is loosened up. Maybe somebody was trying to get in here, but look at this. And you can see somebody has actually soldered this. Maybe they watched one of my videos, because this is something I've been telling people for a long time. This is not factory solder. Somebody has actually, run some solder from this portion to that portion, which is required once this mechanical crimp weakens and gets some corrosion, or worse yet, cigarette smoke. So somebody had already attempted to do that. Unfortunately, they didn't get the soldering iron hot enough to really make a good electromechanical connection to this lower portion. As you can see, it spins around. And that's that intermittent connection you just heard. So I'll go ahead and hit that with a 45-watt soldering iron and reflow a few things while I'm in here replacing these capacitors. And but yeah, prime example. This radio is very clean. It really shows no signs of being around moisture, but it's hard to not see that greenery on these connectors here. Okay, Alex, here is your CP2000 unhacked and restored and recapped. These are all top shelf best capacitors money can buy. Lots of them. All of the hacks have been removed. The radio has been restored to its original wonderful working condition. I've put a little JB Weld epoxy on your broken AC connector, being careful to keep it off the electrical connection because this is somewhat conductive. So be gentle when plugging in your AC cord. That arrived broken. The JB Weld should hold, but regardless, go easy on that. Anyway, she sounds beautiful. My top pick and the fan favorite is the 10DA head on the unamplified D104 mic stand, as these radios have a beautiful built-in compressor. And of course, they've got a field effect transistor, a built-in preamp. This field effect transistor is very easily destroyed by either just touching it with your fingers. The static charge can destroy these, let alone having a microphone wired wrong. Here was your Motorola audio limiter chip that the hacks had destroyed. This was an RF final modification that was completely unnecessary and hurting your sideband output. So once again, everything brought back to its original beautiful working condition with the best of everything. I don't cut corners when it comes to parts, especially on Cadillac radios. Why anybody would restore one of these with cheap Chinese Amazon capacitors, and yes, I've seen that. Yeah, that's right. Let's take a beautiful, high-dollar radio and destroy it, put it in some cheap Chinese crap that may not even meet spec coming out of the box. Yeah. So not only are these top shelf capacitors, they're bought from Mouser. As electrolytic capacitors, most manufacturers will tell you have a shelf life of 3 years. And I've actually got some capacitors that I need to get rid of. I'm sure they're more than 3 years old, even though they're brand new, out the door with these guys. It's kind of like a battery, or a carton of milk with an expiration date. You really want to use the latest, greatest, and that's what you've got here, Alex. Enjoy. Okay, guys and gals, as always, thanks for tuning in and tagging along. And I guess it's appropriate to say happy holidays as we're just about to enter the 12 days of Christmas, as today is December 11th, 2025. So a happy new year on top of that. 73, Greg Howe, S9 Radio.